Hi, this is Cecilia from Tarot by Cecilia, and this is your weekly tarot guidance for the week of September 19th through the 25th of 2016. This is a big week, people. I think I said that last week. I think last week really was like the big week, but this is like the good big week after the last big week. I don't know how else to put it. Yeah, we have a lot going on. Now, we did just have our last eclipse of this eclipse season last Friday. Okay. But this week, on the 22nd, we have several things going on. Mercury will go direct. Doo, 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 right? Yeah, thank goodness for that. Hallelujah. It's also the fall spring equinox, which depends upon which hemisphere you live in. Okay. And also the sun will be entering Libra. So when you start thinking about all of this in retrospect, like getting to this week, 3 eclipses in the last 4 to 5 weeks, okay, Mercury being retrograde, Jupiter entering Libra, the final Saturn-Neptune square, and now it's time for a new season. And I am such a firm believer that each new season is always so welcome and brings with it change. And it's not just about the weather. It's not about the temperatures that have been in excess of 100 degrees and, waiting for that to end. That's only part of it. There's a really good feeling each time a season shifts and it brings another aspect to your life. So this is a good thing. Now, let's look at these cards. And, whatever has happened as a result of the eclipse that happened on the 16th. And remember, back in June, on June 17th, I said, mark your calendars 3 months from now. I mean, I don't think the whole world is going to see something happen on September 17th, but last week was an interesting week, was it not? Things were happening, things were changing. And this week comes up and it's like, just, that's it. All of a sudden, things just open up. Finally, there is a choice in direction. Have you really had a choice in direction before? You've been going along trying to figure out a direction. And, that won't work. No, we'll go over here. Nope, that won't work. And now you actually feel like you have options. I can do this. I could do that. What do I want to do? It's almost, I kind of like to call it a big crossroads. All right? You get to a certain point, and I get the feeling that something happened in a good way that has put you in this position where now it's like all of a sudden it's opened up these roads. Okay, what comes next? What is it that you want to do? Maybe the universe is actually giving you a choice. Can it be? Okay, it's very interesting, I'm telling you. Now, you see, through all of this, you've been carrying a lot of weight from the past, a lot of responsibilities with you, and shouldering a lot of burdens that needed to be dealt with. You could have had that one big, great thing that's been hanging over your head happen last week, or know that it's going to happen, or somebody scheduled a court date and said, this is when you will get your ending. But here you are, working out the details. I'm telling you, there's a choice that you have to make here. And it needs to be a choice that will balance things out in your life. And one of the things that I have really been emphasizing lately is that when you arrive at this point, it's not like, oh, yay, I just sold my house. Oh, yay, I just got a divorce. You know what I'm saying? And you just like run out and go do stuff in a wild fashion. This is take your time, be patient. There's a lot to see and do along the way. I think if you were in a big hurry, you would miss some truly wonderful opportunities over the coming year. Let's say between now and next August. If any of you out there who follow me on Patreon have listened to my Jupiter and Libra video, that was awesome. It was so awesome. Oh my God. And in that I talked about the total eclipse on August 21st of 2017. So that's why you want to take your time. You don't want to miss out on that really big opportunity. Something wonderful is going to come your way. You just need to be working your way toward it and tying up all those loose ends that were left over from whatever happened before. Okay, so definitely progress is being made over the coming year. You're going to be amazed. Okay, so it's time to make plans, like real plans, and, no longer feeling powerless about it. There is this balance that needs to be maintained between the heart and the mind. I'm telling you, it's not a time that, like, drastic change could come into your life. Like as the week starts, things are happening. But you could break out of that mode you've been in. But I'm telling you, impulse is not your friend. It is not your friend. Especially if for any reason you have come into any finances. You may feel like you're soaring, like high above the clouds, like, woohoo, this is wonderful. But at the same time, you're being asked to take your time. I'm thinking everybody's getting tired of hearing me say, take your time. There's a couple people out there, I have to say this, all right, who I don't think they get what I'm talking about when I'm going along, and they don't understand the patience thing, and they just want to be here. They just want to be in one spot. That's it. The end. Said and done. It does not work that way. Okay? I read all the comments out there. And those who are not getting that, who do not understand that, I get a little aggravated, to be honest with you. Okay? Because you have to really open your eyes and see that this is a journey. And the journey's going to continue. Okay? You sell your house. You get a divorce. You move somewhere. Life does not stay the same. The status quo does not stay the same forever. There will always be things that come along to change it, for good, for bad, for in between. But you are definitely moving on and moving away from something and headed toward that total lunar eclipse. I think it's lunar, on August 21st of 2017. Okay? So what you're doing right now is you're just working on it and you're cultivating it. You're building something that has a rock solid base that will carry you for many, many years to come. So yes, in that respect, you have made it to a certain spot. But when you get to the spot, it's not like, door number 2 opens up and the balloons come down and you just magically have everything you ever wanted. Okay? You still have to work at it. You still have to proceed forward. All right? It just is not that way. And there's that little bit of like, you have to think about what you want. There is that sense of being cheated, I think by the past and things that happen. But do you let it get to you? No. You're working on walking away from the hard times. And at this point in time, it appears that you've been pretty successful at doing that. And now you've reached that next leg of your journey. Okay? The next leg of your journey takes you somewhere that you probably didn't anticipate. And even if you did in your wildest dreams, you probably thought they were just your wildest dreams, okay? So finally, after really clearing things away, it's time for some wishes to come true as the seasons change, and decide how you want to lead your life. Because in a sense, by walking away from the past, you're really being reborn, okay? So this is a time for rebuilding, maybe even a little bit of relaxing occasionally. That's the thing. I don't think anyone can tell me at this point. I've done it all. I've taken care of everything. I have not a care in the world. It's not like that. But can you take a day, just sort of hang out? I think so. All right? So you need to have patience with yourself. You need to always have patience with yourself and everyone else. This isn't something I'm going to stop saying. All right? That's not going to end. All right? There's a certain way to really achieve cooperation with the universe, and being patient is one of them. Okay? That ability to not, and a lot of people contacted me about this when I spoke about this month, and that getting things taken care of by not like saying too much or saying the wrong thing has kind of been like walking on eggshells with particular subjects for some people. But you know what? That will stop. It's just there's this sense of biting your tongue. But now you can take a look at what your vision is for the future and what it is that you wish to do. One of the things that's very prevalent in this reading is generosity. It's everywhere. Okay. Now, for any of you who are fortunate enough to come into a sum of money, don't give it all away. Don't overspend. There is a need for frugality. I'm telling you, there's something coming. You're going to want money for later because there are more changes. As you make those choices that are coming before you and those roads open up, you're going to want to explore all the possibilities in your life. So, irrational spending and things like that aren't going to work, okay? Because you've reached that point where, the future and relationships are in front of you. And this year, with Jupiter and Libra, relationships are really at the forefront. Relationships of all types. Basically, this leg of your journey that's opening up now, with the equinox, is manifesting happiness. Really, truly, what more can you ask for? That is how I see it. The manifestation of happiness. Knowing how to choose to be able to do that. So, big decisions here. There is something that has happened probably at last week or the tail end of last week, which has brought you into this week going, all right, what do I do? What's my next step? I did all that. Like, I did it. What do I do now? Okay? Because I think you had all of these thoughts and ideas, and that really was probably not the way it was meant to work out. But the delays around you are gone. For most of you, for many things. Maybe not for every single thing, but for things where you have felt held back, now you got that like slingshot feeling. But you have to be careful, not to be just like catapulted out there and not knowing where you're going. All right? So fairness can return to your life. I like that. An actual sense of, actually, there's a very pronounced sense of justice here. Like something that's a huge victory for you. So you have overcome something. And it came with the full moon. But I've been saying it for a while that like that 23rd, which is, I don't think I mentioned that. I only mentioned the things on the 22nd. On the 23rd, Venus will enter Scorpio. Okay? But there is, around that time frame, this just huge sense of like victory and justice. And it feels more like an overcoming. Like an overcoming a situation. It's not that you went out and you battled something and you won or anything like that. It's just the whole idea that you have gained clarity through this. The confusion before was, I'm not sure. Should I do that? Will that work if I do that? And, trying to find your way. And then all of a sudden, things just start to move. And it really truly is all about timing. So as you go along, that's one thing that I see here this week, is that I think the clarity finally starts to come in that's necessary, to replace the confusion that's been there. Okay? So finally having something go right is going to allow you to be able to think. Because really, how can you decide what the next direction is or the next move, that type of thing, unless you can really think straight? So, the timing is getting much better for all of that. And, you're going to find that you're still doing the multitasking thing, but not so much of the old. It's more like there were things that were remnants. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't just one big issue. So the one big issue had little side things attached to it, and you can go around and deal with them in a very creative manner. And it's just amazing, because now you can really go forward. I'm going to put down a couple more cards here and just see what we have going on, because I think this is, there's a lot of success here in this coming week. And it's with whatever has been plaguing you. Like, I like to call it the battle, but it's not. And that being able to have faith in the universe to guide you. So you're finally saying, okay, what is it? Is it real? Is it fantasy? Where is the universe taking me? And it's taking you somewhere really special. And you're going to start to see that, okay? There's a lot of potential celebration in here. And that could just be the equinox. It could be other things that are happening. But I think there are some very positive changes that come forth. But as you do this week, keep in mind, they start to become your choices. That's one of the most important things, is that finally you're seeing clear enough to begin to make them and think, what is it that I really want? And then you can start to proceed in that direction and make choices which are not based on fantasy, but rather on what you truly can achieve in your life. So, I want to thank you all for listening, and I'll see you here again next week. Take care.